an accounting firm called Alpha Pro Partners. We have offices in Dubai and London, and our main services are accounting, Xero implementation and training. Bharat, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure. Thank you, guys. Good afternoon for joining. So I'm Bharat Makijani. I am working as a principal consultant with Citrus Consulting. So just a quick introduction about Citrus. Citrus is a delivery and consulting arm of Redington Gulf. I hope some of you are aware of that. Redington Gulf is one of the biggest distributor of IT hardware and softwares in this region. So yeah, this is where we are operating out of Saudi, UAE, and India, and we are specialized in modern IT infrastructure, cloud services, data analytics, and IoT. So yeah, that's just a quick introduction from my end. Over to you, Rehan.
Thank you very much, Bharat. So this is the second webinar we have done with Citrus Consulting. So what we're trying to do is we're creating a series of webinars where we talk about the latest technology available for accountants and business owners to help them give you better reporting, find process improvements. And our last webinar was on the topic of how to create real-time dashboards and reports. So today we're going to be a bit more specific and go more into the cash flow reporting segment, because obviously that's quite a topic that everyone is on top of mind at the moment. So why cash flow reporting? Obviously, due to the COVID-19 situation, we are in a increasingly changing environment where we need to manage our liquidity very well. Accountants obviously need to report your liquidity through cash flow forecasts, and business owners need to make decisions off the back of those. And when you're preparing a cash flow forecast, there's, because of the environment that we're in, the different information getting released all the time. So things like government incentives, loan deferment schemes that has been introduced by the Central Bank of the UAE. You may have headcount issues that you have to address. And all of these things would then need to be factored into your cash flow forecast to help the business manage their cash burn over the medium to long term. The other thing about cash flow reporting is that the preparation and the creation of these reports are not always very well understood or comprehended by people using it as well as accountants, because you have to, P&Ls and balance sheets are usually on an accruals basis, whereas cash flows are on a cash basis. So making sure you have the correct transactions in those reports is important as well. Which then leads on to many finance departments. What they have to do is they are reporting their cash flows on a quarterly or monthly basis. Given the situation that we're in, we want to be able to report it on a daily, weekly basis, and we need the tools to help us to do that. Which then obviously leads on to what softwares are you using? Are you using cloud-based softwares or not? And that's where we would obviously provide the solutions that we can address in this webinar. The topics we're going to cover are, I will talk more about the cash flow capabilities within Xero, the accounting software, but I'm not going to go have a deep dive. I'm just going to go into a few points on that. Bharat will talk more about Power BI and its API capabilities with Xero. And then we'll have a Q&A session at the end. The Q&A, if you want to enter your questions on the chat box, then we can answer it there and then. And we are recording this webinar. So what we will be doing is we'll be sharing it at the end of the session. So in terms of Xero, I'm not sure if many of you know about Xero, the accounting software, but Xero is an accounting software, and the company behind it was founded back in 2006. And this company was based out of New Zealand. Its main product is the accounting software, and there are currently 2 million users worldwide. So it's not a small software by any means. It's got a very large market share in countries such as the UK, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and it's usually number 2 or number 3 in terms of market share in the other developed markets such as Europe and North America. Last year, its revenues hit 0.5 billion. So it's, like I said, again, by no way is it a small software company. In terms of the software, so the very theme of Xero when it first came about was to be a very user-friendly accounting software for entrepreneurs and accountants. And as an accounting firm, one of the reasons why we chose only Xero to support our clients was because it's very easy to use. It's very good at separating out the cash and the accrual-based transactions, which is very important when you're preparing cash flow forecasts, because you want to be able to distinguish the two types of transactions when you're preparing a cash flow forecast. So I'll now go into my screen and start showing you a few reports which could be quite relevant for you. One of the things that I just want to point out is today we're not going to go into a deep dive of Xero. We're just going to go through, touch upon a few points which would be useful when you're preparing a cash flow forecast. So we'll touch upon the cash flow forecast statement of cash flows report. We have a cash summary and a profit and loss. So the cash summary is very much like an IFRS cash flow statement. Xero does provide it in the indirect and the direct method, just in case you was wondering. In terms of features, Xero allows you to drill down into numbers from the report. So if you've got a number and you want to know what it is, you can just drill down and see the transactions there and then. So that's quite useful. And all reports in Xero, you are able to export into PDF, Excel, and Google Sheets. And that's quite important because if you're preparing a cash flow forecast using Excel, for example, you need to have a good starting point. You may want to use Excel to help you with that. Now, I'll go more into the cash summary and the profit and loss now. So as you can see, the cash summary has got income, operating expenses, and then all the other sections such as non-operating amounts. But you can see that it looks very similar to a profit and loss account. If we go to the profit and loss account, you can see that you've got the income, less operating expenses, and then the net profit. However, for the accountants who are with us, obviously the profit and loss is generated using an accruals based, whereas the cash summary is on a cash based. So what's the difference between the two? If I click into my profit and loss sales figure for March, you can see that these are all made up of invoices or credit notes. And that's what makes up my my sales for the month. If I go to my cash summary, you can see that these are all of the cash that has been collected for the invoices. So you've got PAY transactions and APP transactions. PAY transactions are payments which you've applied on invoices, and APP are applications of credit notes to invoices. So that's quite useful from that point of view as well. Now, if we then go to the bank account, so the other thing that's quite useful in terms of preparing your real-time cash flows is that what Xero does is it separates out manual journals and cash journals separately. So when you're running reports, you can clearly distinguish between the two. So in this situation, in this bank account, if I can create a spend money or receive money transaction. So if I was to create a spend money transaction for now as an example, I can type Alpha Pro Partners. I'm going to select March and I'm just going to put deposit. I'm then going to put my description as deposit. My quantity as 1, unit price, let's say 800, and I'm going to post this to the deposits account. So I'm going to save that. And then you can see on my account transactions that it's been entered already, but it's unreconciled. So this is quite important because if you do want to produce real-time reports, you need to be able to enter your transactions as and when they occur, so your reports are the most up-to-date reports. Now, how does this look in terms of the cash summary and the P&L? Well, if I go back to my cash summary, if I was to refresh this, I've got an amount here for deposits. And if I click into it, I can see that $800 transactions which I've just entered. So that forms part of my cash summary. If I go to my profit and loss, obviously it's not going to be there because it's not a profit and loss item. It's a balance sheet item that would be covered by the cash summary. So that's another example where transactions are separated out. What you can do is you can then distinguish between the two when you're preparing your cash flow statement. Now, in terms of the final example, so we also have manual journals. So I prepared a manual journal earlier, and this is an intercompany journal. Now, journals, they're usually based on an accruals basis, and the journal type is called a JNL. Now, here you can see on the 31st of March, I have posted and intercompany expense between, say, advertising of $1,000 and prepayments. Now, if I go to my cash summary and I select advertising, I'm not going to see that transaction because all I have is PAY transactions. If I go back to my profit and loss and I select advertising, you can see that the MJ journal, which I've just posted earlier, is there. So here you can see where here you can see the distinguished between the manual journals and the PAY journals as well. Now, one more thing I just want to quickly highlight to you now is we could just go back to the bank statement very quickly. In Xero, you have to upload all of your bank statements from your bank account to Xero before you reconcile. Now, what is the benefit of this? Well, one of the benefits is that Xero has a very good search function. So when you're preparing a cash flow forecast and you need to be able to search certain transactions, you can do that quite quickly. So if I was to search bank, for example, I can see straight away some of these bank transactions relating to bank. Now, these things you may not be able to data mine that well if you were to go into your internet banking, or you may not even have access to your internet banking. So that's why this is quite important. And then finally, you can also whatever you've uploaded into your bank as a bank statement, you can download it as well into an Excel spreadsheet. So if I go to bank reconciliation and I select bank statement, I can select here a date range of all of the bank transactions that have been uploaded to the bank. I can then export it into Excel, Google Sheets, or PDF, and then I can use that as the information I may use to prepare my cash flow forecast, or just to data mine to see what cash transactions have occurred previously to then help me forecast going forward. So just to recap, why is all this relevant? Well, to achieve real-time reporting, you need to be able to enter your transactions immediately into your accounting software. That then gives you a good starting point for your forecast when you're forecasting in future periods. And obviously, Xero, as I've demonstrated, helps identify quite easily your cash transactions against your accruals transactions. I will now pass it on to Bharat, who will now talk about Power BI and APIs. Just a reminder, we will have a Q&A session at the end. So if you have any questions, you can put them onto the questions field in GoToMeeting. So Bharat, over to you.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for such an informative session on Xero. Hi guys, today I just want to talk about use of data that we can extract from Xero and how we can analyze that data to drive some actionable insights from it. So just to give a little background about myself. So now I have been into data analytics from past 8 years now, and have been working with clients across geographies, be it APAC, EMEA, or Americas. And every day from last 8 years, I have been hearing data as a buzzword, and the sound of it is increasing on a daily basis. I've seen clients talking about extracting the data, storing the data, transforming the data, managing the data. And once they have been able to achieve that, their next question is, okay, how can we use this data, and how can we visualize this data, analyze this data, and drive actionable insights? So this is where the business intelligence comes into the picture. And today I just want to talk about different BI tools that are available in the market and how we have been able to use those different tools to connect with Xero and extract the data and drive some meaningful insights based on which our clients have been able to use the data and take some decisions on a daily basis. So in this webinar, just setting up the agenda. So I'll be talking primarily about two things: how we can extract the data from Xero, and how we have been able to do this in the past, and what we have been able to generate out of APIs that Xero is exposing for us. I would just like to share my screen now and take you through APIs that Xero has been exposing from last couple of years now. So as you can see, Xero has a pretty strong developer community, and what they have been doing a really good job of exposing all the reports that you see in Xero platform, be it a bank transaction, be it a manual journal or a PNL or a balance sheet or a cash flow. So they have been able to expose all these reports through web APIs, and any developer who can connect to these APIs can fetch the data, what is running in the Xero, and do some transformation on that data, make some customized reports, and then push that data into any of the BI tool, be it Power BI, Tableau, MicroStrategy, or any open source tools like Kibana. So this is how we have been able to use these Xero APIs in the past and helped our customers in coming up with a customizable reports, group consolidated balance sheet or a group consolidated P&L or a cash flow on a monthly basis. So today I just want to show some of the reports, how we have been able to generate using these APIs. So for that, I'll just give you a brief idea how this process works. So as you see right now on the screen, this is a ETL tool what we used for extracting the API data from Xero and then pushing this data to a database, and from that database to the BI tool at the end of the day. So first question that a lot of clients have is regarding the security of the data. If we are extracting this data from Xero, how secure it is. So Xero developer team has done a really good job of giving a multi-factor authentication through OAuth 2.0, where you have to have at least 2 point of security verification before you can fetch the data. So as you see right now on the screen, first you have to load a private key, and then you have to load a consumer key and a secret key that is generated through private app and some scripting that you have to do at the API level. And once you have that keys in place, then you are ready to go and call the Xero API and then fetch the data in form of a XML or a JSON file. So once this data is available to us, we can validate if we have got the relevant data for a particular month or a year or a quarter based on the business requirement. And once this data is available to us, we can parse this data, do some data transformations, exclude some irrelevant data, and have the clean data in a table format that we can push to a database where we will be doing all our logics of customizing a report. So now I'll just give you probably a live example how this looks at the end of the day, because some of people are really curious how this API really works at end of the day. So API is nothing but just a web link that allows you to hit to the Xero, get the data in a XML format, and then push the data to a BI tool at the end of the day. So as you see right now in front of me, this is an API that I have been able to extract for a bank transaction. So if I open here, this is a URL that Xero is giving to me, and this is a consumer key, security step based on which I can extract the data in a highly secure manner. And then I just have to tell where I have to store my file. So this is just a simple process to give you an idea how a API works at the end of the day. And once I have this data available with me, just give you yeah. So as you see right now on the screen, this is how the data comes for different months using a API. And once this data is available to me, I'll be just doing some transformations on this data and coming up with a table structure that I'll be using for creating customized reports. So this is just a bit of a technical background how the API works. Now probably I'll jump into the end results, how the data looks at the end of the day in a BI report. For this demo purposes, we have used Power BI as a BI tool on which we have been able to generate the data from Xero and create some Power BI reports. So I just wanted to talk about one of our clients with which we have been working from last 6 months and have been able to help him in coming up with a consolidated P&L, consolidated balance sheet, as well as cash flow statement. So the company had 4 different entities within the Xero, company A being the parent company, and then company B, C, D being the subsidiary companies. And at the end of the day, what they were trying to achieve is what I'll just gonna show through these reports that we have been able to derive for them. As you see on the screen, these are the individual profit and loss statement for the companies, and each company have their own reporting structure. There are different revenue streams for different companies, and they have set up this structure as you see on the screen right now in Power BI. Similarly, they have been able to set up this structure in Xero, and Xero does the brilliant job of doing this accounting at the end of the every month and giving them individual reports for each of the companies. But when it comes to having a consolidated P&L, this is where they want to consolidate revenue stream from all these three individual companies. This is where Power BI or any BI tool comes in handy, where you can extract the data using the APIs what I showed you, and then you are able to consolidate all these revenue streams into a format what group P&L or a group balance sheet would look like at the end of the day. So this is what you see. And then what flexibility it gives us is also it helps us to eliminate any intercompany transactions that any company might have on a day-to-day basis. So just to put in a different words, so Xero can give you a accounting report that you can use for auditing purposes. But if you want to have a true picture at the end of the day how your company revenues look like by removing the intercompany transactions, this is how you can achieve using any of the BI tools, say Power BI in this case, and without any disturbance to the reports that are generated in a Xero. So this is where Power BI comes in handy, or Tableau or MicroStrategy comes in really handy. So, and this also gives you at the end of the day all the high level KPIs what a business is interested in, and these can be customized in a form how a business wants to see them at the end of the day. So as you see right now on the right side, this can be also presented in a form of a dashboard and give you a high level picture of how a business is doing at the end of the day. So just to give you a glimpse of how we were able to achieve this exercise for a client that I am talking for this use case is what you see right now on the screen. This is where we were able to give him, okay, what was the closing balance for a particular month, or what was the cash in, or what were the ratios in terms of revenue growth versus last month, or high level KPIs what a business want to see at the end of the day, what were the outstanding receivables or overdue receivables. So all these data can be presented in a graphical form, and it's really easy to read, understand the data and drive insights, because companies are generating the data on a daily basis, but they want to analyze this data, and bringing a BI tool into the picture makes this journey really easy. So this is just a glimpse of a dashboard, how it looks. And the beauty of having a BI platform is you can consolidate data from any of the financial data sources as well as the non-financial data sources. Say a company has been using Xero for all the financial purposes. This is where they can integrate the data from Xero, as well as if they are using any other ERP platform for their stocking or inventory purposes, you can have multiple data sources and have reports in a single BI platform. So this is the beauty of bringing a BI tool which helps in integration of various data sources and give you actionable insight in form of a graphical view. So that's where I just wanted to talk about use case that we have been able to deliver. I'll also just quickly go through a consolidated balance sheet for the same client that we were able to achieve using the Xero APIs. And this is what you see right now in front of your screen is an individual company balance sheet, as you see, for company A, B, and C. And then we were able to have all the drill down functionalities, as you see, at the different category levels. If they have different bank accounts, how the balances look like. If they want to drill down for current liabilities, this is how they can do. And similarly for any of the super categories. So you get all the flexibility and customizations what a business is used to do at the end of the month, but in a really professional and a graphically illustrative way, which makes actionable insight come out to you. As you can see, okay, if I want to see, okay, what were my net assets at the end of the month, I can see in front of me in bold and highlighted. And similarly, we can come up with all the KPIs or ratios what a company is interested at the end of the day without drilling down into any of the granular data available in the backend. Just giving you a glimpse how a final consolidated balance sheet for particular company looked at the end of the day. So that's what we have been able to do. And now coming back to the main agenda of this entire webinar, to have a real-time cash flow. So Rehan gave you an overview how it can be achieved in Xero, and what we have been able to do is we have been able to come up with a template for a easy use of clients, which is right now in Excel. But at the end of the day, this would be a mechanism where this Excel would push the data to a database, and from database, this data would be pushed to a Power BI or any BI tool. So what I'll show you right now is the Excel template for a cash flow statement, where you can note all the receipts and payments that you have been doing on a daily basis, and you can write the forecast for the coming month. And once you have done these entries, you can see how it would look like in a final cash flow view in Power BI. So I'll just open one sample for you. So this is similar format to what you would find in a Xero platform, and it can be customized as per your needs. And this is what you see right now. These are the numbers that are coming from a Excel template. And however, as I said, this can be directly automated through APIs from Xero, and it can be refreshed. But for demo purposes, I'll just make some dummy entries for March, and I'll show you how these numbers would be refreshed and how you can forecast the opening and closing balance for say month of March. So let me do that right now. So I'll just go back to the template. Say I'm expecting a revenue stream of around 150,000 USD for the next month. I'll make that entry. Then I'll say my salaries would remain same for the coming month. Then I'll see, okay, these are my fixed charges. My insurance would also remain same for the coming month, and then so on, my interest payments as well as my loan payments. So once I have done all these entries for forecasting purposes, I'll just save these numbers. I'll go back to my Power BI. I'll refresh my data source. So once I've done the refresh, you can see the numbers are available right now here. And then I'll just go and publish this report on my Power BI server. So publishing this report to Power BI server means people in my organization who have access to this report, these numbers would be refreshed for them. And at the end of the day, at one click, this report would be published and floated to all the stakeholders in my organization who are using say PNL or a cash flow or a balance sheet on a daily basis. So once I have done this publishing, I'll just go back to my Power BI online service. I'll just go and refresh this. Yeah, and here you go, the updated numbers in the month of March. And now I can forecast what would be my opening and closing balance for the month of March just by changing the month. And this is how I can estimate, okay, my opening balance would be around 136K, and after all the payments and receipts, this is what my closing balance would look like at the end of the month. So that's what I was just trying to show, how easy it is to use any BI tool and how intuitive it is to integrate with any of the ERP systems, or be it like a system like a Xero, which would be the brain for doing all the processing. And then a BI tool like Power BI, Tableau, or MicroStrategy would help in analyzing the data and doing some forecasting and prediction for your businesses. So this is what I just wanted to talk about in today's webinar. So yeah, that's it from my end. Over to you, Rehan.
Thank you very much, Barrett. I mean, that was really interesting in terms of the way you was able to, enter information on an Excel spreadsheet and get it to update your Power BI report instantly. And that's obviously one of the things that I've been impressed with myself anyway. So just so you know, obviously, Barrett, obviously, as you know, Power BI isn't the only reporting BI that you can support. There are other examples as well, right? So you mentioned Tableau, and what were the others?
Yeah, so like Power BI, the different alternative tools available in the market would be Tableau, MicroStrategy, then open source tools like Jaspersoft BI or Kibana. So any kind of a BI tool is compatible with the Xero APIs that developer community has been exposing for us from last couple of years.
Okay, thanks. One thing I didn't mention, which I forgot to, was the fact that Xero has 800 plus softwares that integrate with it. So that what that means is because it has an open API, there are over 800 different softwares, be it inventory management systems or CRM systems or expense management systems that plug into Xero. And we've just shown you, Barrett has just obviously shown you one example of a reporting software that does that as well. We've come almost to the end of our presentation. So again, the whole we wanted to obviously provide an extended Q&A session. So if you want to enter any of your questions in the chat box, we can then myself, Bharat, can obviously answer whatever other questions that you may have. Can you please show how you can prepare a forecast cash flow to the end of the year? So I guess what myself and Barrett have done is we've shown you the small elements of how you would do that in preparation. But I mean, Barrett, if they wanted to contact you separately for you to show them how you could do the whole cash flow till the end of the year, you're able to do that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Rehan. So that's what I showed right now. It's a Excel template that I have been able to come up with. If a business can enter all their expenses and payments that they are expecting by till end of the year, and once these data is plugged into the Excel would automatically refresh the cash flow on the Power BI, and you'll be able to see what would be your forecasted opening and closing balance for the separate months, whatever filter you select. And then absolutely, I'll be more than happy to connect on a separate webinar call and give them a detailed demo as well as understand the requirements for them.
Okay. So yeah, we will be sharing Barrett's and our details after the webinar, as well as with the recording as well. Is there any more questions from anyone else? I mean, Barrett, I mean, in terms of when you've been able to pull data out of Xero, I mean, from your experience, while we wait for more questions, I mean, one question I have for you is, from your experience, in terms of the ease of pulling out data from other systems, I mean, you've obviously spoken about Xero, but let's say there was other systems that someone wanted a dashboard and they wanted to have a dashboard that's not just got information from Xero, but let's say they wanted information from a CRM system and an inventory management system. How difficult is that for you, and is that something you're able to do?
Yes, Rehan, absolutely. So first of all, it would depend upon the BI tool we are using at the end of the day. A lot of BI tools now in the market have custom plugins for connecting to different ERP systems. So as I was talking about Power BI has a connector for Xero. If not, there is not a direct connector for Xero or any other ERP platform. We can definitely use, say, Python scripting for developing a API connector with particular ERP system we are talking about. As we are talking about this integration with the API and Python scripting, I was just reading in the afternoon today that Xero has been working on a custom creator for connecting with Python scripting. So now Python scripting is a new thing what a lot of organizations have been using. And this is where it's very intuitive, and we can work through some scripting to come up with a custom connector for any of the ERP systems.
And obviously, I'm very biased with Xero because we're a Xero-only accounting firm. But to give value to the audience, I mean, you obviously can connect to other accounting softwares that have open APIs. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It can connect to multiple systems, be it Xero or other systems which have been doing the similar work for Xero or any other non-financial ERP systems at a smaller scale, which have been operating in the market from a lot of years. We have a lot of custom connectors using ETL tools like, say, Pentao Data Integrator or, say, as I told you, Python scripting. So yes, it is possible.
Okay, so we've got another question. Power BI allows you to link Xero directly, but only one organization at a time. How can a accounting firm set up multiple organizations? All right, so this question is probably from one of my competitors. So Barrett, why don't you answer that question? We've got a case where an accounting firm has got a number of different clients, And so they want to be able to connect Xero to a number of clients and then be able to send those reports from Power BI to their clients. Is that something that you think you can do? I mean, what other considerations would you need to put to be able to do that?
Sure, Ryan. I'll be more than happy to answer this question. So this is exactly what we have been able to do for the use case that I was showing in the demo about 10 minutes ago. So for this client, they had 4 companies, and what we were able to achieve for them was using data integrator tool. We extracted the data for all these companies in separate pipelines, and once these individual companies data was available with me, I was able to push that data in a SQL database and come up with a consolidated database that I was able to use for individual reports as well as for consolidated reporting. So this is where we can use third-party integrator tool for extracting data for multiple companies and come up with a customized reporting.
Thanks. I've got another question. Is there any chance to get the recording presentation of the session? Yes, as I mentioned in the beginning, we will be sending the link to everyone. Obviously need to edit it, but we will be sending it within a few days of the end of the webinar. Is there any more questions? I've got another question. Can we set up rules for reporting criteria for governments in Power BI? I think I need a bit more information on that question. What type of rules were you requesting in Power BI? I mean, Barrett, have you seen the question on the chat box? So Barrett, that's another question for you, I guess.
Yes, the different tools for say IFRS or GAAP, again, these would be a part of a customized reports as we are talking about. So once we are able to say extract the data from any of the ERP system or say for Xero, and once we have this data in the database, we can set up any kind of customized rules that client is requesting for. And based on that, we'll be able to give the reporting as per the IFRS or GAAP standards. So the answer would be yes, we can work and create simple or complicated rules to have a customized reports in Power BI or any other BI tools.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we were working on a project, you were able to prepare a consolidation for a client, and things like intercompany transactions you were able to eliminate as part of that consolidation tool for the other client. That's correct, isn't it, Barrett?
Yeah, exactly.
Do we have any more questions? In terms of, so Barrett, obviously you're the person who knows a lot about the tech side of things. I mean, in terms of the latest kind of technology and softwares that's going to come soon, I mean, what kind of things do you think will happen over the next, few months and years in terms of making things a lot more easy and quicker and integrated? What have you seen? So I'm just asking you a question while we wait for more questions.
My answer to that would be, as I said, there are a lot of different tools available in the market which can do a direct integration with Xero. I've explored personally a couple of other tools, and they do a decent job of extracting the data and giving you a consolidated report, but that does not serve the purpose for end customer. After working with couple of clients that I have personally seen, the reason being these are just out of the box connectors. They take the individual company's data, put the data one below another, and gives you a consolidated sum. But when you talk about different companies having different reporting structures, like different revenue streams for individual companies, or eliminating say intercompany transaction, so there are a lot of complexities involved which needs consulting mind or a thorough understanding of individual companies, sitting down with the customers and then doing a customization and coming up with a view what the stakeholders have been wanting at the end of the day. It happens a lot of times that companies are doing all these consolidations in Excel file, and they have been doing this from long time, say 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and stakeholders at the end of the day are used to that kind of a reporting structure, and any changes into that kind of a reporting structure does not ring a bell to their head when they are analyzing these numbers. So this is where a high customization is required. So there are a lot of tools. If you're asking me, I can name a few, but they might not be the best fit for a lot of the organizations. And to have a same kind of a flexibility as what they have been using from a lot of years, This is where I would suggest that we can have a consulting exercise with the customers, give them customized reports in any of the BI tools like Power BI, Tableau, MicroStrategy, or open source tools like Kibana, what I have been talking from start of this session. So that's what my take is on this one.
Thank you very much. I mean, from my side, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that anyone has offline. I think, Barrett, you're also very, you're happy to answer any questions as well. We also have Sanaya, who's part of the team, and she will also provide her details. She's also working with Citrus, and she can also answer any questions that you have. We haven't had any more questions yet, so I think we'll slowly wrap up. Is there any final words that you want to say, Barrett?
So what I would like to just emphasize the point that if any of the audiences from today's call wants to connect with us and understand the power of BI reporting and how they can use these reports for their organization, we'll be more than happy to have sort of a free consulting session, say half a day consulting session with their stakeholders, sit down, understand their requirement and suggest them the next steps. So that's the message that I would want to put at the end of the day.
Okay, great. I mean, obviously, from my side, I would like to close on the fact that, there are lots of technology apps and tools out there for many businesses who are not aware of them. And, one of the things that we can do is, with the help of obviously Citrus as well, help you unlock some of those for your organization. Now, some of them are not that expensive, but it depends on how complex you want your reporting to be, can be a bit more expensive. So we can help you from the accounting side as well, should you need that. Thank you very much for joining us today. As I said, we will be emailing you out our contact details, as well as a recording of this session. Once we've prepared the recording, it'll also be on YouTube as well. So we'll send you a YouTube link as well, so you can access it anytime in your leisure. Thank you very much from my side. It's been a pleasure hosting you on this webinar. Barrett, thank you very much from you as well.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, guys.
All right, take care.